Hey everybody, this is Yin from Hoplife with the most complete and detailed farming guide for you. This video tutorial has the same content as the written tutorial you will find below the video. And so yeah, it's up to you, whatever you like. If you want to watch the video or read the tutorial, the only advantage in the video is that you will see a few replays just so you get an idea how a good raid should what a good raid should look like. And all right, so a little bit about my farming history. It's when I started farming, so I was basically a noob, and I tried gathering as much information as possible to help me make my farming more efficient and lucrative. But all I found were basic tips like just farm at low honor or don't use all your troops in a single raid. And while that's true, it just wasn't enough. So I just started experimenting around a bit until I found the most efficient way of farming. This guide is quite long, but I can assure you that it's definitely worth your while, unless of course you're already a pro farmer. Two small things before we start is first that all my troops are maxed out, which means that topics like troop usage might vary depending on the level of your own troops. And second is that I will always be referring to markets and giant coins, but of course everything applies for the essence wells as well. And last thing before we start is that I really believe that there is a perfect farming style for everybody. So with this guide I want to encourage you to read my guide, or well, watch it, apply it, and then adjust it to your needs, because everybody's got different preferences and time available and whatever. So just try it out, try my method, and then adjust it to your needs, and I promise you'll get those maxed out walls in no time. Okay, so first of all, let me give you a quick overview of what I will be covering along this guide. First of all, the definition of efficient farming, choosing the right bases to attack, best honor range for farmers, how to stay in a certain honor range and keep farming all day long, what troop composition you should use, how many troops you should use per raid, a few other useful tips, and then just final words. Okay, so let's start with the definition of efficient farming. For me, well, it's an unofficial definition, but I think it applies pretty well. It's to gain the highest possible amount of loot using the least possible amount of troops and never run out of troops. Therefore, efficient farming requires strategic, foreseeing thinking and experience. Experience is the key here, I believe. Being a newbie farmer, it will definitely take you some time until you can completely analyze a base in a glimpse. And many things as the choice of base, troop usage, correct pre-queuing, and other stuff we will be discussing play a major role while farming efficiently. So if this is something you would like to learn, then just keep on watching. So the first step is to choose the right base to attack. And this is the part where I believe most people fail, because they will see a base with, let's say, 3 million jade coins and instantly attack without even taking into consideration things like defensive structures or whether the loot is in the markets or in the vaults. So basically what happens is that they attack, they use all of their troops or most of them, and after all they barely get any of the beautiful loot. So I'm not saying that you should not attack a base with that kind of loot, but just consider if it's worth the attack before just storming in blindly. So personally I will even raid a village with as little as 500,000 coins if it only costs me a couple of ninjas. If I would have to break through several walls and use many ninjas due to lightning towers or other defenses, this amount of loot is definitely not worth the effort in my opinion. So here's a quick checklist on how to determine a base's worthiness of being attacked. First, the available loot, of course. So as I mentioned before, personally I at least consider everything above 500,000 coins. Second, where is the loot? So you gotta check where the loot is. Is it in the markets or is it in the vaults? You can see that by well, if a market has loot inside, it will show like little coin bags on the side, and you should always go for markets containing the loot, unless of course the vaults are very poorly defended. And obviously the more bags on the side of the market, the more loot is inside. At this point, I would like to refer you to a chart made by the Farming Regalia remix, which will show you exactly for how many coins each bag stands at the corresponding level of the market, to make it easier for you to evaluate and get a feeling for it. I will post the link in the video description on the YouTube site, and if you're here on the forum, you can just scroll through the tutorial and you should find it pretty quick. Okay, third point is where are the markets. So there are four basic types of market positioning in a base, and the markets are either not protected by walls nor in reach of any defenses. They could also be not protected by walls but in reach of defenses, or all behind walls but more than one market per compartment, or in the hardest case, every single market would be in its own protected compartment. And obviously A is the easiest kind of base, while D being the hardest one to raid. And the fourth and last checkpoint is the defenses. You should always check which defenses are surrounding the loot and attack accordingly. So let me give you two quick examples. If there is a lightning tower nearby, I will send in a single ninja to trigger it off and instantly send in another 2 or 3 ninjas to take out the market before the next lightning strike can take my ninjas out. On the other hand, if there is a heavy arrow archer tower, I will send in 3 to 4 ninjas at once, since one of them will be taken out as soon as it gets in range of the tower before even getting to the market. Note that if deployed right, your ninja will throw the ninja stars before even being hit by the tower, which of course gives you a little advantage. Excuse me. Alright, so the next topic would be the best honor range for farmers. When talking about the honor range to farm it, I like to divide that into two different ranges. The first one is constant and the second one always varies. So the first honor range, I consider everything between 200 and 700 honor, give or take. So when I'm at a high honor, for example after finishing a war and I want to drop in order to start farming, I will drop straight to 700 honor. Of course, if I find something on the way down, I will definitely take it. Anyway, once I'm at about 700 honor, I will start making use of the next button, but not in an excessive manner. Meaning that I will skip bases a few times to see if I come across with one worth attacking. But if I don't find anything after about, let's say, 10 skips, I will keep dropping my honor a little lower. And I'll continue doing the same until I start finding bases with good and fairly easy to steal loot more frequently. And that specific level of honor at which you start finding those good bases is the second varying honor range, because they will always be different. Side note on choosing the right honor to farm, opinions are very different. Some people think it's honorless to farm at low honor, whatever, I don't know, but anyway, there's many different opinions. Once you've gained some experience, you will kind of get a feeling for where to look for the loot, and then you can decide for yourself. So next is how to stay in a certain honor range and keep farming all day long. So some people, they prefer to farm until they're just at a very low honor level, at which they won't find or barely find any loot. Then they will just fight their way up, back up, and start over again. Personally, I prefer trying to stay at a certain range, which at that point seems most profitable, so that varying honor range. Um, so let's say you found your perfect level of honor, and in order to stay there, you should keep an eye for three things. The first one, obviously, snipers, meaning unprotected castles, and if you can, take those out with bonus troops, so you don't waste any of your other troops. Second one would be super easy bases, which are mostly found at low honor, which you can easily take out with about 20 to 30 ninjas and or a few archers. It's up to you and depending on the base. And the last thing you should look out for is when you finish the raid, when you've taken all the loot, just check how much percent you got, because if it is a low level base, it is very likely that you already have about, let's say, 30%, which means that you can easily get the 1 star for 50% by quickly taking out a few other unprotected buildings with archers, for example. So next on is the troop composition. So what troop composition should you use? First of all, there's lots of different troop compositions, and everybody I've talked to who's good at farming uses a different or slightly different troop composition. So again, you will have to adjust it to your needs and evaluate what you need, what troops you need more often and which you don't, and so on. So basically just adjust it. But anyway, I'll give you two examples here. One is my own troop composition and how I use those troops, and the other one is from another farmer from my alliance Hoplite, Boomerman, and he's also an awesome farmer. So yeah, I'll give you these two quick examples so you see the difference. So for my farming session, before I even start, I will train up 10 rams, 20 to 30 archers, and 140 to 150 ninjas. Since we're talking about efficient farming, I don't want to waste much time on checking what troops I will need in the next raid, and I don't want to be checking after each raid. So what I do is I will first select a single dojo and completely fill it up with rams. Then back in the advanced training mode, I will fill up all the remaining space with ninjas. Then I just start farming, and over the next few raids I will evaluate my average ram usage. So if I find lots of bases where I need quite a few rams, I will keep doing the same things and filling up that one dojo with rams. But if I see that I barely need any rams, I will simply stop doing that and just pre-queue ninjas or archers if I have used some of them, and start training new rams once I've only got about 6 left. And but yeah, I barely have to train archers because I only use them when I want to stay at a certain range of honor, or if I want to lure away a jade line or other stuff, but more about that later. Okay, so that was my troop composition. Next on the list is Boomerman's troop composition. So he uses 160 ninjas, 30 archers, 4 rams, and 5 Mongols. So out of this troop composition, what he uses most is ninjas and archers. Well, I think there's no further explanation needed for the ninjas. So the archers he uses to take down markets, which are, how do I put this? Imagine a market. The market itself is in the range of defenses, but since the archer itself got a range too, he won't be in the range of that defense. So he only needs one archer per market, which of course takes a little longer, but saves troops. Um, well, I think we don't have to discuss the Rams either. And the Mongols he uses only when there are many defenses surrounding the loot he wants to steal. And since Mongols can take quite a few hits, they're perfect to bait a freeze tower or other defenses and keep the ninjas unharmed. Next topic, how many troops should you use per raid? As I mentioned earlier, it is crucial not to run out of troops. It's impossible to determine an exact number of troops per raid since every raid is different. Therefore, as long as you don't run out of troops, it's all good. However, on an average raid I will use something like 25 to 35 ninjas and 1 to 4 rams. Of course there are also many raids where I don't need any rams at all. Anyway, all you have to do is learn to quickly analyze a base and know more or less how many troops you will need. And you should know that before actually attacking. Once you know that, you can decide if you should attack or rather skip that base. And you should also not only be thinking about the troops you will need in your next raid, but rather about the troops you will need in your next few raids. That's what I meant with foreseeing think in the introduction. So now there's not much left. I've got other useful tips here. It's only 2 actually at the moment. But anyway, yeah. So first would be how to avoid jade lines, especially the ice jade lines. They can be pretty nasty. Option A is to lure them out with archers as far away as possible. So just the duration of reaching the archer, killing it, and walking back will give you more than enough time to steal all the loot. Option B would be if your ninjas already set off a jade line, just don't keep attacking the same market. Start attacking another one far away and basically play ping pong with the jade line. So he will be running around, but he will never be near enough to interrupt your ninjas from stealing the loot. And last thing, again, what I mentioned in Boomberman's troop composition are the archers. To use them when markets are in range of defenses, but the archers can outplay that with their own range. Personally, I've started doing that as well when, for example, I'm running a little low on ninjas and I just want to save on ninjas, then I will just use archers and let them do their job. Alright, so final words. First of all, congratulations, you've made it through. I hope you've enjoyed this guide, and even more I hope that it will take your own farming to the next level. And one last time I want to encourage you to experiment around a bit and find your own ultimate farming style. I would appreciate any feedback, and if you should have any questions or suggestions, feel free to leave a comment and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Happy farming, Yin.